you have a career spanning for, let's say, more than 20 years. And I think that most people know you from your management days at Colliers.
Yes.
How did you get from architecture to real estate and then to the world of entrepreneurship, being also an investor? How did this all come together?
I think, as always, I think it's a matter of stars aligning or not aligning, and it's more what comes to you and what you make of the options you see around you. I think so far I've been more attracted to where people need me or where projects look interesting, and following in a way my curiosity. I never chosen with a feeling of, okay, this is I don't know, maybe very good or very safe or the best for me, because I didn't quite know what that means. But it was more a chance that I took at the right time. Being an architect was fantastic, but it felt not quite the place for me. Also, I remember it was so cold on the construction site, and it's such a world with lots of people that, you know, are not necessarily into innovation or more interesting things, business. It's very traditional, it's simple, it's important, right? Building a house is it's key to life, but in the same time it was probably too not enough creativity on a construction site for me. I did work as an architect for the first mall, Bucharest Mall, and it was really interesting because we were curious, will it work, will it not work? It was one first mall in Bucharest. It was amazing. I worked with Turkish builders, realtors, which was an experience in itself, because we didn't know how to do real estate. They knew. I think Israeli developers, Turkish developers, and Greek developers were the first that came to Romania. So our education in real estate comes from them, basically. So for me, it was quite an interesting school. It opened my heart to real estate, which I followed after as a career. But I remember being on the Bucharest Mall construction site, being cold, seeing, you know, workers around, and noise and dusty. So I thought, no, this is not for a lady. Okay, I need to be in an office. I need to take planes to go to meetings in Paris and Madrid, and I want a business life. So I had this opportunity. Somebody offered me basically a chance to say, hey, don't you want to work at Colliers, because they are hiring designers. I was not a designer, I was an architect. So for me it was, what's a designer? And the minute I realized it's an international company with a nice office, with people that have meetings without dust, I said, okay, I want to do it. And I came to an interview, and I remember my boss, of course, after the interview became my boss, but before the interview, he was the interviewer, and he said, do you know how to design in CorelDRAW? And I had no idea what that is. But I said yes, because I wanted this opportunity so much. I think the fact that there was a Canadian company with the offices around the world, for me it meant learning, career development. And for that period, 2000, it was really a chance, because I think we had few corporations. We had the famous Mobil-Rom and Vodafone, Future Orange, that were the best employers, and international companies were coming. So that attracted me, and I learned CorelDRAW in 3 days, so that at my first day I can do it. And then Colliers meant a career, 18 years, really intense. I lived the booming years, and then the fall, and then another good W recovery, and then a bit of good years, and then until 2018 when I left. So the question was, why did I change after to education and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. What attracted you to this side?
Because I think it was about time. It became stressful to work at Colliers in a bad way, because stress is good when you have challenges, you want to build something, you hire people, it's nice. After 18 years, the stress I had was more, and 8 years as a CEO, the stress was more in terms of, I cannot change the way I change this company. It's a multinational, so it will not risk as I want to risk. I wanted to build new departments, buy little companies that were more into services than transactions. I wanted to develop a lot in design and workplace solutions and consultancy for interior design. The future of work is now a concept, especially after COVID. Before then, in 2016-15, was not a concept. People were going to the office, the managers had a corner office, glass. There was not much multi-generational communication. All these things just started to appear. So for me, that was the future, and I needed this probably more innovative place to work. So education, entrepreneurship, it's an innovative place to work. So this is why I switched. And plus, I think it was a matter of the people that are around you. I was going through some journey myself to search for what's my mission, what's my purpose. I did some changes in Colliers as a leader, putting more important values, let's say, on the wall, like let's be more brave, let's do things authentically, let's educate ourselves more than just looking for the next deal and to how to compete with the competition, but how can we build a sustainable long-term relationship with clients, how to grow a team which is different. But I didn't know quite what different mean, but I was searching for it. So I made some things, but there was a limit to it. And I was tired, and I felt the pressure that I couldn't cope with, that I didn't see it in a good direction. So I thought, okay, I need to leave because somebody else can take over, and it's a win-win situation if there is a good next manager. And Entrepreneurship Academy was a project started not by me, but by a wonderful group of people. And the moment I was having meetings with them, my heart opened, my brain cleared. It was a different vibe. When you meet entrepreneurs, especially that they want to make a project in education, the conversation is really, really extraordinary. And I just wanted to be in that room. Even if I had no idea what they are talking about, I didn't know education much. I mean, I was not coming from academia. I didn't know entrepreneurship at all. I was always an employee so far. So I just want to listen to them and learn from them. And from that to investor, it was a short journey because I started meeting entrepreneurs. Especially students, young people, lots of ideas, energy, and I was impressed by their energy and by how much how much they believe in themselves and in the future, and how they grasp the trends much better than I do. So I thought, okay, why not invest in these ideas and be there for them, be a guide, be a consultant, a mentor, a support, use my network. It's excellent to see them at work because they're curious. They come and ask questions, and they're not afraid to make mistakes, differently than for my generation, which is terrified of taking risk and making mistakes. So I learned to take risk. I lost, I won. I'm still learning how to be an investor. It's not at all already. I mean, it's not at all, let's say, a career. It's just the beginning.
Tell us a bit, please, about, like you said, most of your career was in Colliers.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the lessons you've learned there and some of the lessons that you're still applying now in the projects that you're doing today. If there are any lessons that still stuck.
Of course. I think there are lessons that I learned, and they remained with me. There are things that I ran away from and wanted to change and not live them again. But on what stuck with me, for sure, it's the attention for the client. you learn it very well in a corporation because the processes, the procedures, the attention to details is so high. Also because there is such a strong competition already. The company is big, there are other companies targeting the same client. So the element of preparing for a client is really, really important. So I remember how much we prepared for a meeting. We rehearsed the pitch, the meeting, the presentation. We were really going into the extremes, thinking who should we send to that meeting, what kind of people they are, what do they like, what kind of personality, what profile they are. So we can put agents, consultants that have the same profile. How much do we know about their needs, their intentions? So we learn to listen, but in a way which was really profound. And this got stuck with me. So for me, the client is key. Everything I do or everywhere I go. And you would say that also for entrepreneur, the client is key. But there is a difference because at the beginning, you fail much more in delivering a product to a client, and you understand the client might be upset, but you have the vision of, okay, in 2, 3 years, 5 years, I will have a product that the clients will be happy about. But in a corporation, you cannot do this. So it's much more strict when it comes to client perspective and perception. This is one thing. The second is, I would say, the importance of getting people aligned. And again, it's harder in corporation than it is in entrepreneurship, because when you have a young team that starts a product, a startup, they are aligned by default because the 3, 4, 5 people want to start something together. So it's easy for them to follow one objective. But then when the team grows, they become a middle-sized company and then a big-sized company. The things get distributed, personal agendas, divergent views. And it's harder to keep the same objective or a direction, a single direction. And I learned that by talking, by listening, by being very, very, very open each morning, telling people where we are, if we made mistakes or not, what's our situation financially, what's our situation with the objectives, the revenue, the profit, being very open with the team, it gets them attached to what we are doing. And to be honest, the corporation is not a very purposeful place to live, right? To work. And especially the traditional corporations are pretty, how should I say, it's a job. People say, oh, go there, I earn money, it's just a job. But I learned that if it's just a job, they will leave. As a leader, if for them it's just a job, they will not perform. But if it's a place which they think they can, learn and be appreciated and find a purpose, then they will stay.
Do you think, you spoke in the first lesson, do you think that you're applying, let's say, this rigor that you've talked about when preparing for meetings, finding out more about the clients and actually putting the right people on? Do you think that you're applying this in your endeavor now as an investor? Do you want from founders the same rigor that you've learned to have, to be better prepared to actually come with a good pitch and learn, if nobody knows from the beginning, but to learn and do this?
Yes, they yes and no. And I'm saying yes because preparation, I think it's key for everything. All kinds of meetings need good preparation. And I learned something during the days, working with students, because our curricula in Entrepreneurship Academy has a particular aspect, which is the element of preparing for a meeting, but also debriefing the meeting. Which means, okay, you come after with the people you worked or you met and you say, okay, what happened? What just happened? What happened? Where are we? Why did that happen? Good or bad? Did we get a contract? Why did we get it? Because it's it's easy to skip that part, and you think you did a good job because you had a good process, but actually 80 times out of 100, it's just maybe luck that the objective of the meeting was attained. But if you think after and you say, okay, was it the process that we followed? Was it the preparation, specifically something in the preparation that worked? Or was it just because they were nice guys and they liked us and we made a deal? Or, what was the real success coming from? Where does it come from? This is really, really key, even more than preparation, to know what you can improve that can be, let's say, a direct correlation between the result and the situation. So I try to transfer this to startuppers. In the same time, I know there is a limited obsession for client as it is for other aspects of the startup, like the research on the market, quantitative, qualitative, understanding the problem very well, and talking to many people. So I try to combine the two. I mean, be efficient, but also go in depth in understanding the client and preparing for the meeting.
What do you think that startups and founders can learn from big companies, from corporations, and vice versa? What can a corporation learn from a startup?
I think the element of build, measure, learn, it's a cycle that I learned from the book Lean Startup. And when I read it, I tried to remember, did we do this in Colliers? Is this something corporations do? And you would say, yeah, of course. They prepare, they make a product, they launch it, and they get the feedback. But the truth is, it's not exactly like that. The difference is the authenticity and the honesty with which you look at the results. In a corporation, the team has the tendency to manufacture the result, which is the measure, right? You have build, measure, learn, and build again, measure, learn again, and so forth. This is the cycle. So you build, you launch, or you present to the market, and then you measure. Now, what you measure and what you learn from the measurement can be more transparent, honest, authentic, like, oh, we made a huge mistake. It didn't work, actually. This is not the result we estimated. Okay, let's go back and build again. If you do this in a corporation, it's tough. It's tough to present it, and then for that manager, it's tough to say it further, and for that manager, it's tough to say it further, because they don't like failure at all. So there is a similarity, but the way the results are presented is not true. They present it in a much nicer way than it was. And the improvements that they make for the next part are small, are like, fine tuning, are not real changes. They're not pivoting. They're more like, improving here and there. In a startup, this has to be much more honest. And you need to completely change if it doesn't work, and be very honest about it, and not get stuck with an idea that doesn't have a problem to solve. So it's the big difference is, or the things that corporations should learn from startups is to not be afraid to fail, and to really, really have honest conversation about what did we learn and how can we really make it much better. It's not the fault of the people. It's the fault of a process or of a research, or not even of nobody's fault. It's just something they found out. Was it worth it to find out that it doesn't work? Yes, because we're going to save a lot of marketing budget for the next month. And vice versa, I think startups, there is a rigor in corporations. There is formality and a business, let's say, language. There is this a way to do business which is very serious, and which is more, how should I say, a bit drier, but sometimes this is good. I see startup founders so attached to what they do and so passionate, and especially if it's their hobby and they want to turn it into a business. It's too much emotions put in a meeting or in a business deal. And after all, business is business, which means that you have to keep it away from your, let's say, emotions, not to drag you down or take you to the sky too high, because you lose reason and you take it personal. And in a corporation, nobody takes it personal, right? Which is, as we said, there is a good and bad about it. But in startup, founders should learn from corporation this type of detached professionalism, which is about closing a conversation with positive or negative. This is fine, and keep it in a, how should I say, in a open business environment where nothing is personal.
Coming back to the Entrepreneurship Academy, please tell us more about what attracted you to the project that you wanted to join, and from your experience during this year and being involved in the project, do you think that there was a need at some point when the Entrepreneurship Academy first appeared for people, for young people to learn in a more practical way entrepreneurship and actually have a dedicated college, have a dedicated college that helps them in a more practical way? From what I know, there are students that have now established businesses coming out of the Entrepreneurship Academy.
There is a large need for education in entrepreneurship Romania, because there is actually none. So let's start with, it's not that it's needed like a plus to something that already existed. Entrepreneurship is very hard. To do business in Romania is very hard because culturally we're not entrepreneurs. We are socialist workers more as a personality or a profile. We don't like risk. We don't like to tell the truth. We like to cover our mistakes. We don't like to learn or to say, I'm sorry, tell me how would you do it. All these elements of risk adversity especially are preventing people from entering entrepreneurship. And all these elements of I'm not professionally achieved if I don't become a manager in a corporation. It's also culturally very strong, but I think it works against innovation and entrepreneurship and development of a country. And I work in a corporation, so I know the value, the importance of having companies training people because there is not such good business education. So the corporation took the role of an institute of training for managers, for leadership, for business language, for everything. So I respect them, and we owe them a lot. In the same time, a country doesn't evolve without local companies. Doesn't. It's dependent. Every crisis comes, we fall. Everything is, based on a trade relationship with Western or Eastern or America, which keeps us prisoners and it's not good for us in the future. Or I think there has to be, the best of both worlds. Our entrepreneurship life is young, because to be honest, we have good senior, I would actually call them by name, old entrepreneurs, right? We have this generation they are now in their 60s and they build empires after the revolution. But that's not what I call modern entrepreneurship, right? The tech entrepreneurship or the tech digital world just came 10 years ago in Romania, basically. And starting, let's say, with embark period, many companies appeared in the market and got on this wave of e-commerce, of digital services, technology, marketplaces, and so forth. And for me, this is the let's say, the next wave, not the ones building furniture or shoes or, fashion or whatever. That was more of a transition, but now there's a new wave that we need to create, and there is no school for them, none. In ASE or in management schools, very little is taught about the principles of entrepreneurship, the principles of tech startups, which is different. It's an additional layer that you must learn. Venture capital, and like you said, there is nothing practical, because you would say, okay, but there's so much on the internet. It's true, you can stay on the internet for years, but what about practicing, and who can guide you to really do it? So in Entrepreneurship Academy, you asked me why I joined. Firstly, because the people in the room were fantastic, smart, open, honest, and they wanted to do something important for Romania. Secondly, because I was really attracted to the education as an element of making a better life. I don't think money makes a good life. I don't think having a family makes a good life. I don't think having a house makes a good life. I don't think having a stable job makes a good life. But I think education makes a good life, because it passes you, it helps you understand what's going on with your life, in your jobs, with your family, with your money, with your investments, with your career. And learning constantly became for me the survival tool that I'm trying to, let's say, lobby for everywhere I go. And my passion for education, it's not a passion, it's more of a like I said, a tool, like I feel it as the main, how should I say, constant in our lives. So Entrepreneurship Academy has 3 pillars. One is constant learning. The second is practical learning. Now, I'm an architect, so I used to draw a lot. So for me, this connection between, okay, I think about the project, but if I put it on paper, it becomes more real, right? And then if I make a model, or maquette, right? You make a model out of a house, it became even more real. Now, of course, it takes some money and some time to build a real house, but the more practical, the better, because you see it in life. How will it look? How will it be? How it will feel like? So the practical part, I loved also because I'm a dynamic person. I move, I like to do things. I cannot just sit and think. I'm not a philosopher by personality. So it attracted me, the doing and seeing after what you learn from it. This is not always healthy from the point of view that you can lose, you can make mistakes, and you need to manage your ego, your money, and everything. So it's hard. It would be easier to have it all planned, have it all figured out, calculations to the virgula, to the details, and then, but it's not possible. It doesn't work. You cannot know everything from an office. You need to go on the construction site and build it. So I like this. And thirdly, the pillar that is very important is the teamwork, and how you learn in a team, and how you follow, but also lead. And this is what the school is providing, set up for people to learn together and do business together.
You've mentioned that with the Entrepreneurship Academy, you've become more involved in this startup world and in this entrepreneurship space, and you've learned along the way. I wanted to ask you if you remember when you first heard about startups. Was it when you left Colliers, or you've learned about this concept and you were about entrepreneurship while seeing other colleagues, or I don't know, from offices outside Romania? And
it's a very good question. I don't remember exactly, but what I can tell you is that I discovered that the corporate world is very, very limited. What I mean by this is that it's it captures the entire attention of people working. It's like a bubble. It's a big bubble. The larger the corporation, you feel like you know the world, but you don't. It's just a bigger bubble. And when I exited Colliers, when I stepped aside, I realized the importance of that quote, which stuck with me since I heard it. And it was for a worm, the apple is the universe. So, the worm stays in an apple, they find this home, and they believe it's all there is because it's big enough for them, right, to eat and to stay there. And they don't know much else. So when I stepped outside of Colliers, I realized, wow, it's amazing, it's colorful, and there are so interesting things to discuss and things to see and people to meet. I think there were not many startups back then anyway, so the question is, where can you find them? If I would stay at Colliers, could I have been an investor, an angel investor? And the answer is probably no. Also because all my acquaintances, my friends, kind of work in the same type of jobs as I do. We are the X generation that built the corporate platform in Romania. So most of my friends are there. There was a bit of change when events like these events targeting the digital world started to appear, which are not necessarily about startups, but they were talking about the new wave of transformation, digital transformation. I think that's when the word startup came to my attention. But it was through Entrepreneurship Academy that the big change was made, and I started to understand what does it mean. Initially, I thought it's just a company, an SME, right? A startup. And then no, it must be tech. Okay, I got it. And then it must be, with a huge potential to grow. Okay, so scalable. And then I started to understand what scalability means, and I was fascinated by the term. And then venture capital and the rest came.
I'm glad you mentioned venture capital, and I would like to move the focus of our discussion to Bravva, and to ask you to tell us a bit about the first moments when you decided to start this community, and all the wonderful ladies you brought with you in the project, and what was the mission? You've mentioned earlier about mission. Having a mission. What mission did you have in mind? Did you envision when first getting together a group of women, angel investors, to help founders and female founders?
The trigger was working with Daniela and Raluca from Glow to Go. That was the moment when I realized I can do more, not just by investing my own money, but building a community to invest in female founders. And now you would ask why? Because women are really underrepresented in this sector. Now, I believe a lot in the female ability to build entrepreneurship. I think it's a great match between their capabilities and the success of a startup. And I wanted to know more about it because I asked myself why there are so few. And and why are so few investors females? And clearly the common element is risk adversity, or the lack of knowledge about risk, understanding what it means, calculating how much you can lose, how much you need to win, and so forth. So financial planning, basically, it's at the core of managing risk. You cannot overcome it completely. You might, lose some money, but you can plan how much you lose, or know how to survive, or plan in order to survive. And this ability is more historically a man ability to plan financially the life of a family. But I think with the recent years, the females become much more good at it. There are more, let's say, independent, single women that live a life, have a career, build a family. and they need to own their assets and understand how to play with them. And also there are a lot of women that are very creative and innovative, and they want to build startups. So the young generation of females, I see it as a huge potential. And they are, now I see in pitches more women present, mixed teams, I mean combination, which is great. I see them with more courage. And the question in me was, can I help this trend? Okay, I didn't start it. I'm not how should I say, a visionary. I would be if I started this 10 years ago. No, I'm riding a wave, but I want to put some processes together which facilitate more for money and financial and guidance and mentoring for women. You would say, but what's the difference? The difference is it comes from the connection that they can make with women investors. It's the way we talk to each other, the way we understand each other. You know, we don't get scared if an entrepreneur in front of me as an investor, if they say, yeah, I'm thinking of having a family, have a baby, but I think I can deal with my startup and also my kids. Because I can understand. I can think, did I or how did I? Okay, I made lots of mistakes, but you know, is it relevant? Can I relate to this problem, or does it scare me? So this is the similarity that we can build on, us women investors with women entrepreneurs. I also think that the future for women is to have a variable income with fixed income, project-based, so they can deal with family, they can develop their skills differently, not just bury themselves in a job, but be, how should I say, combine different teams, different projects. It improves their, I think it nurtures their creativity. Women like to do multitasking, multi-projects. They have a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. So all these elements is, I think, supporting a life in which you don't consume all your energy in one place, but you consume and take energy from places where you build things with your heart and your mind, with people that you like working with. So this is how Bravva appeared 1 year ago, to help female entrepreneurs build startups. We have many women investors that start to learn. It's very difficult to make investments for women, to be honest. It's difficult because we need to understand very good what we are investing in, what is the business exactly. So it's the need for knowledge about investment is key, and there is no such thing. In Romania, there's not a school that is very easy to reach, or with a constant flow of diplomas for investing. And this might be a project that I want to build an education platform for investors in Romania, especially, as I said, for women, because I think they need to learn the skill of financial planning in order to have stability and safety in their lives.
What do you think that is or would be the competitive advantage of having a more gender balanced startup ecosystem, to have, like you said, to have more women in tech, more women startup founders?
I thought about this. There is a lot of research that explains the economical growth potential if you combine and you allow women to work more and better, and it higher and more creative and more, how should I say, higher on the value chain of creating solutions for the world. And there is a lot of research that analyzes the loss of an economy if women stay home, or they do jobs which are more traditional and fixed and stable. But what I searched, or what I researched personally, was more the connection between the features of a startup and the combination of gender mixed teams. And I want to take two examples or two elements that I think there is a direct correlation with gender balance. And one is the fact that the startups or the tech world is going in a direction to build products by engaging a community of clients. In other words, the brand is being built in a community or by a community in which there is a co-creation with the client. You engage clients in buying your product, in promoting a mission, if it's, sustainability or, circular economy or healthy food or whatever. I mean, not in all cases, but the majority of startups, they bring innovation to make a better life. They don't do a better, a cheaper Coca-Cola. They do a healthier Coca-Cola, right? And this healthier element, which is future oriented, is igniting a spark of contribution to a better world. And to create this power of the brand, you engage with clients in a community style. With the help of social media, these community platforms are growing and growing and growing. So, as a simple correlation that I make is that the women are great at building communities. So if a female is involved in building the brand of a startup, she will be very good at creating this community. This is one element, the co-creation in a community environment with clients of a great product. The second is creating a culture inside the teams. You would say culture is not important. At the beginning, for a startup, it's not important. 3 people in t-shirts, jeans, they build it, they talk about it, they go to pitches and so forth. But then you start building processes, you hire people. And I have students with successful businesses, like you said, and I remember them calling me, "Oh, Ilinca, you said it would be hard to hire, but this hard?" And it's not about hiring, it's about keeping them. And they were calling me saying, "I don't know what should I do with them, because I don't know what they want from me." and because they were like, a young entrepreneur, and they thought everything will go naturally in one direction. But people need to be explained what they have to do, aligned, communication. A lot of communication needs to happen, especially in a startup, because there's a very accelerated speed for growth. So to tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, things grow exponentially. They double every day. If things double every day, then you need to brief in all the people what happened yesterday. So it's that fast. So it's a daily communication. So they were shocked by how hard it is to deal with people. And then that's when I realized all these trainings in Collier is about managing people, and all the mistakes I've done, maybe I can put them at work and transfer the knowledge to the young generation. So I think women are more attuned, or they are capable, if they work in a gender team, a mixed teams, to take over this topic. To take care that there is communication, there is transparency, authenticity, and honesty communicated to the team every day, and that the team is feeling good together because they have those, the ears for it, or the feeling for it, or the empathy for it. Is everything okay? Are we on the same page? Do you want to talk about it? These are things that come natural for a woman. So her presence for building a culture, I think it's amazingly beneficial for a startup.
Do you think that the scarcity, not to say lack, the scarcity of women entrepreneurs, and not only this generation, women in tech, but women entrepreneurs in general in Romania, is caused or was caused by the communist era and what happened afterwards? That entrepreneurs are most likely men. There are just a few examples that come to mind of women co-founders. Like you said, Mariuca Talpeș with Florin Talpeș. They came to mind. But if I'm thinking about other women off the top of my head, it's difficult to have another name in mind quickly.
From the old generation, you mean,
Yeah.
or from the new?
Yeah, from the old generation.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where it comes from in Romania. I don't think we had a different path than the whole Europe. I think communism helped us because it sent women into factories, which meant that it sent them to work. So the switch from, house life to work happened in communism. And I can take it as a positive element that women realize, okay, we need to take care of us of work. So we're learning skills now. It left a lot of kids running around alone in the neighborhood, but that's a different story. And I think what happened in the entire Europe, first of all, it was an element of year by year change for women, better pay, better skills, and opportunities, equal opportunities. And I think we are on a very good path. What I also see in Romania is that women go to school, right? So their access to education is key. In other countries, especially because of extreme religion, they're not allowed to. So starting with education, things get arranged in the good way, right? If you allow a woman to go to school, she will take care of the rest. So this is amazing. In our faculty, for example, I think the ratio is 40% women, 60 men, which is great, right? And I see it equalizing, and I see the voice of women being louder and opinionated and having the courage to start a business. I also realized that we learn business from men, and now we are learning business from each other. It is a big change because the way we talk, the way I talk, the way I dress, it's mainly from a male culture. Nothing wrong about this, but this is the school I did, right? Now I think the next phase is to learn in a more feminine way, in a different leadership, not the competitive, aggressive, egocentric type of business, transactional, how I learned to do it. But from female to female, we learn to do it, in a more, how should I say, harmonious or balanced way. In Romania, I think we are lucky that our policies and our government and our our environment for women getting into business, it's in the, how should I say, in a good ranking for Europe. We are not at the bottom. We're in the top third, which means that a woman can start a business anytime.
Is it different? You've mentioned a bit. Is Romania different, and for women in tech, also for founders, or also for investors, such as your case? Is it different now than in other countries in Europe or in the States? Are we kind of in the same environment when it comes to women as founders and women as investors, or is it a significant gap? They're more evolved, they have more women in tech, more women investors, and we're just beginning, let's say, to make the shift.
I checked the numbers and we are pretty much in the same trend. There is not a big difference. The US seems the one which is least at the least gender diverse. And there are more reports of biases, and in the venture capital, I don't know exactly how maybe it's calculated, and maybe there is a tendency to exaggerate these statistics by people that are activists and lobbying for gender equality in venture capital. In Europe, they say that on the investor side, 15% of the money belongs from women that goes into investment, whether it's angels, whether it's partners in VCs or VCs made all by women wealth and money sources. And in Romania, my research says that on crowdfunding platforms, which are easier to measure and to get the statistics, women invest less money, but as an average amount, of course. But in terms of percentage, they are around 14-15% on these platforms. Now, in the community area, in the communities of angel area, we have very few communities. There are now 2 dedicated to women investors, WIT and Bravva, and other, I think, 3 that are open. Bravva, for example, is open to anybody that wants to invest, but naturally, because we are supporting this cause and trying to get females up in the startup world, there are more women that join Bravva, and I'm happy for it, of course, but it's not, let's say, a condition or a restriction that we have.
How do you think that things will evolve in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years when it comes to women in tech and women investors in Romania? Like you said, will we still follow the same trend as outside Romania, or will we plateau at some point?
I don't think we can get ahead. I think we need a lot of education. I think what helps is the presence of communities and platforms for investing. It makes it easier, because as a woman, you need to have the safety that you know somebody else is investing. You don't need to take the risk on your own. There is a platform, there is a VC there is another angel, there is a community that is doing the due diligence. So there is a help for you to invest. You don't just go to a pitch and put money. It's harder for that to happen. So all these elements of democratization of the investment help a lot women. Secondly, I hope that more programs will appear with academic education for explaining venture capital risk, return, and everything else. But I don't see how we can get ahead, unfortunately. I think I will be happy if we follow Europe trend. There will be new VCs launched, venture capital funds with the help of governmental money, European money, and I hope to see more partners, women partners there. There is something interesting here that in the corporate world, the gender equality came more as a consequence of first women being leaders, because they became aware of, oh, is it just me here? I'm looking around, and can I get more women around me? Because I feel better if at a party or at a management team or at a retreat, I have somebody to talk to that I can relate with. And they started building middle management from, women, and took care that the teams are gender equal and so forth. But it had to be them in leaders' role first. And by this, what I mean is that in VC, if we start having partners, women, then they will be like, how can I encourage more women to get these jobs, to become investment managers, to become community managers, to become angel investors directly? And of course, how can I encourage female to build startups? Because again, I can relate. We can talk about things and sales and marketing and community of clients, and it's nice, and it's a natural tendency to speak with people similar like you, right? So I think this is key for Romania to get managing partners in VC, and they will change the gender equality.
Do you think that there is a bias now when it comes to pitching a female founder in front of a panel of male venture capitalists.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a bias because, I don't know, they don't understand, or they're not paying enough attention, or I don't know?
This kind of conversation is difficult to have because it polarizes. It makes me say, men have a problem and they are biased against women. And I don't think it's a correct position. I think it's a common element. In other words, the women get less confident if they feel the typical male conversation, because for them it's not natural to be in this kind of setup in which they have to compete strongly for something that they believe in, and they have to do it with a confidence and a speed and a decisiveness and an ambition which makes them, or what they have to do for this is to leave home all their doubts, all their fears, all their questions. And this is it's an unnatural effort. Now, the way male choose now, it's more fit for male founders because it's a common language. It's a transaction. We measure our capabilities. Okay, are you the champion I want to invest in? I'm doing it. It's very sportive. It comes from sport, from Wall Street. There is a typical element, which is not nobody's fault, sort of say. It's okay to be. Now, for female, they need a longer conversation, not a 3-minute pitch. Okay, why? Because they want to express their doubts. Now, as an investor, is it okay if I hear that the founder has questions about his own business? I like it. I like when a person goes, I'm not sure about this, but I have this assumption, maybe it will work, maybe not. If I hear, yes, this is for sure, it works, I'm going to kill it, I like to hear it because it's a transfer of confidence. But is it true? Is it authentic? Is it protecting my money? And I think the answer is no. So I want to hear it. As a woman, I want to hear it. Because it doesn't mean I will lose my trust in that person. On the contrary. So I think it's just different language, a different conversation. And a female in front of investors, she can enter, and I see it happen. I'm not saying it's universal. I'm saying I saw it happen. She can be prone to doubt herself too much and to lose the confidence because the questions are more inquisitive, are like, are you sure you can do this? I'm not sure, but I want to try. But this answer might not be good for a traditional transactional type of male investor, but it's okay. You can search other types of investors, women or other types of VCs, which have more time and more patience and more interest for the business you are building. Now, women are not very good at presenting very structured, very essential information. Maybe they take too much, they build a story, maybe it's too long. So they must learn that this venture capital, it's more transactional than they think. And adapt to it.
How is it for you working in real estate? It's typically a male, yeah, a male-dominated industry. How was it for you at first? Was it difficult to adapt? Like you said, you've embraced, maybe unknowingly, you've embraced some of the characteristic of your colleagues, male colleagues.
For sure I did. Because by personality I grew up probably more as a boy behaviors than a girl. I was doing sports, I was moving, I was climbing trees, I was wearing like a sports outfit all the time. I didn't play too much with dolls. So by construction, I was boyish, I think it's the term. And I loved competition. I just loved competition. Now, is it natural for me or is it natural today? No. And I changed and I'm not supporting this anymore. But this is the way I learned to do it. And it served me good. I managed to get a CEO position, you know, one of the leaders in the market. So I won a lot of pitches. I did great presentations because I had this more aggressive, more confident, very strong presence. It was a man game and I learned to play the game. Did it make me happy and fulfilled? No, because I felt it's not the way I want to play the game. Did I see other options at that time? No, or I didn't even know how to build them if I saw them. But now I think there is a better way. I still get a bit trapped sometimes, attracted by competition or by playing the man game and getting polarized and, you know, getting in this, you know, we are better than you and so forth. But I'm trying to calm down and see the benefits of a balanced way between the two worlds and bring them together. I think this is the best way to go forward.
You're mentioning that you had a boyish way of doing things since you were a little teenager. Do you think that this attracted you also to studying architecture? And again, a kind of mostly male profession?
Yeah, I had this combination of creativity and artistic side, but on the other side, very mathematical, structured, a builder's personality.
So not a designer or something, fashion designer or something
not
else.
Too artistic, yeah. I cannot be too boheme. I cannot be too artistic. I need action. I do a lot of extreme sports, you know, like sailing or kite surfing or ski or you know, I climbed the mountains at some point. So I'm looking for challenges in a way that is more male than feminine or female. But I believe in harmony now, and I believe a woman can get both elements in place, which means, you know, get in a suit and run a marathon or repair something in the house or paint the fence in front of the house, you know. I think it's stuff that a woman can enjoy, or be the skipper on a boat, but in the same time, you know, dance and hear music and be empathic and make a drawing or express artistically beauty of the world. And I would like to see this in business women, because again, my generation is more hard type of business leaders. And I met a few women that managed to do it with grace and with femininity much better than I did it. And I think they are role models for the young generation, because the young women don't like the male game. I think they are more attuned to more femininity. They are attractive to sustainability, to improving the life of others, to create good in the world. And I see this also from the ideas that they come forward with. When they pitch to us, the majority of the female founders are into education, medical services, creating a better life for people around them, green energy, circular economy. This is the main, how should I say, common element, that they want to build a better life. They don't want to invent a robot that goes around the moon, but with the help of also associations that promote women in IT, and I'm on the board of Women in Tech Romania, and it's fantastic because this element of technical background is helping them build a better world with the help of technology. And this is what we need.
We've talked about a vision for the future of women in tech and women in investing. But I want to ask you, since we're getting close to the end of the interview, how do you see the evolution of the Romanian startup ecosystem as a whole in the next, again, 5 to 10 years? Where do you think that we're heading?
We are so at the beginning, and it's so small. I mean, the comparison, if you look at our numbers, the total size of venture capital and volume of investing, it's 100 and something million last year. And it doesn't look like too much, doubling or growing too much this year, because it's a difficult year for the financial markets. So last year it was a bit above 100 million in total, which is nothing. For the entire Europe, I think it's 50 billion. So there is a discrepancy in terms of volume. So how do I see it? Growing. The money from the government, from the European reconstruction funds is very important. And 3-4 funds will be launched by the end of the year. And that will be kind of, good money in tens of millions available on the market. And the financial element is the fuel for startups. They cannot be built without it. So this is key, money. We need to invest, and we need to open our wallets and invest in startups rather than the famous real estate and the stock market. You need, I encourage people, especially women, to think about their spendings on fashion or on, bags and perfumes and jewelry, and just take half of it and put it in 2 or 3 startups per year. In 5 years, you have a portfolio of 15, and you can for sure enjoy a lot working with the startups. There is a big chance statistically to build a portfolio and return the entire amount spent, and also make a nice multiple, much higher than real estate, much higher than stock exchange. Of course, you have to make it carefully and think about it, and don't throw money away. But there is a huge potential here. And this is key for the ecosystem, the inflow of money. And how do I see it? Is evolving slowly, unfortunately, because we are not very educated and very rich as a nation. So angel investing comes, later, let's say in stages of building a wealth. But there are a lot of accelerators. I like the fact that there are programs, there are media channels like you, the ecosystem grows. And promotion is key. So the media, so first is money, second is media. Promote startups, promote ideas, promote innovation, promote Romania outside with our talents, which can be tech, which can be, great skills at with a work ethics, which is very good for Europe level. So we have this particularity that we know a lot of languages and we have great work ethics. They were very good for corporations, but they are also good for startups and for startup ecosystem. And what I would like to see is more openness to the Western, more speakers coming from there, more founders being sent outside to see how they can expand internationally. This connection between East and West is very limited, I see. If you look at startups which have foreign money, like foreign VC, very small number, only Series A above, which is not good. Why? Because by now, or by that time, they should have already connections with the outside world to expand their products internationally for growth. Romania is not a market where you can grow, how should I say, a startup to enough, right? The revenue for a startup should exceed 10 million. right, in 5 years? An investor would say, can you make 10 millions, right, in revenue so I can return my money? This is a typical question. In order to make this kind of money in Romania, it's not easy because it's a small market. The population is, urban population is small, they can access tech and so forth. Salaries are lower, etc. So they need to go abroad. And to get abroad, they need foreign money and foreign knowledge. So this would be something I would like to see more. As I said, money, media, foreign connections, and of course, I would go back to the source, the business programs, entrepreneurship education, early on, high school, faculty, university level, as fast as possible.
And speaking about this, about the foreign connection, what could Romania become from a startup ecosystem point of view in the region, in the whole Europe? What's our, I don't know, what's our ingredient, secret ingredient?
We have none so far. I don't see it yet. We can invent something. Like we had for corporate world, we had the low salary versus the value that we were bringing, right? So Romania was the place to outsource. But we lost that to other countries when we became too expensive. So it's a temporary benefit. I'm looking for the startup ecosystem for a sustainable benefit, not a temporary one. And I don't see it yet. Poland is ahead, Bulgaria is ahead by far. They have 40 VCs active and lots of money being invested. And they have more unicorns than we have. So I don't see it yet. I hope it can come from tech, because tech is our original, let's say, source of value. We are engineers by nature, from the communist times, from before that. Now, are we better engineers than the Poland engineers or no, but still, right? If you look at other countries that became faster digital, like Estonia or Lithuania, right? And it's amazing how many startups come from Estonia and how well regarded is Estonia, a smaller country, apart from Romania. Why? Because our digital policy, governmental level, didn't exist for too long. So it cannot be on the digital transformation, our benefit. Maybe on the tech side, meaning that we still have universities that produce computer science experts. And I would like this to be, accelerated, because you take something and you grow it, right, as a talent, even if it's not yet fully developed at its potential. I don't see anything else right now. I hope that in science we can have more women, more men, and more people that combine science and tech with sales and marketing and business. So our benefit could be, if we build it, to put these two together, tech and entrepreneurship in a platform.
Thank you very much. And my last question, what title would you give to a documentary about Romanian startups?
I watched the other day's documentary about Ruth Ginsburg, the lady who was a judge on the American board, and she was famous for winning cases and promoting women rights in the movement, in the social movement in the 60s. And the title was Live to Lead. Now, for our startup ecosystem, I really think it's a matter of your last question before, like, what will it take to lead? Because right now we are not leading, we're nowhere with the startup ecosystem. Nowhere means not purposefully into a direction. So my title would be, do we know where we're going? and how to get there.